Hello class 8, welcome to your history civics class. So today we are going to continue the same chapter, chapter number 1B, and the name of the chapter is the organs of Indian government, the executives. So today we are going to start the powers and the functions and the position of Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. So let's start today's class. The rank of Prime Minister in India is very important. So the Prime Minister plays an important role, and we know that the President appoints the Prime Minister. Clear? And this is only the formal power of the President. So formal power means the President appoints Prime Minister, right? So the Prime Minister is appointed by the President. That is the only formal power of the President. And in reality, the Prime Minister is the leader of the majority party or the coalition parties in the Lok Sabha, right? So coalition parties, I told you in the previous video about the coalition parties. So coalition parties means it's a mixture of 2 or 3 parties and form a government, a group, an alliance, that is the coalition parties, and in the Lok Sabha, and he is elected. That means the Prime Minister is elected as such by the party or parties, MPs, member of parliaments, and the President has to invite the Prime Minister to form the government. Actually, political parties put up their prime ministerial candidate in the general election. So practically, the entire strength of 814.5 million electorate is thus psychologically involved in the election of the prime ministerial candidate. So this means that the prime minister is elected by UAF, we people. So we people, UAF, that means the person who is 18 years or above 18 has right to vote in election and has right to choose their representative, right, or choose a candidate. So that means practically the entire strength, that means 814.5 million electorate is thus psychologically involved in the election of prime minister. In 1999, the BJP led NDA. So what's the full form of NDA? National Democratic Alliance got a clear-cut majority in the Lok Sabha. The NDA elected Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee as its leader, and he was sworn in as the Prime Minister by the President on 13th of October 1999. So in 13th 1999, on 13th October, Sri Atal Bihari Vajpayee became the Prime Minister, and he was appointed by the President. In 2009, the Congress Party, along with the electoral allies, UPA, United Progressive Alliance. So UPA, that means United Progressive Alliance, that means Congress, got the majority in the Lok Sabha elections, and Dr. Manmohan Singh became the Prime Minister. And in 2014, NDA, that means National Democratic Alliance, once again got a clear-cut majority, and Sri Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister, and he is still serving, right? Okay, now so this we have discussed about the Prime Minister, his the mode of elections and all that, right? So let's talk about the powers, functions of the and the position of the Prime Minister. We may study the powers, functions and position of the Prime Minister under the following broad heads. Number 1, Prime Minister and his relations with the President. That is very important relationship between Prime Minister and the President, because we know Prime Minister acts as a executive head, whereas the President acts as a nominal head. So let's talk about the relationship between the Prime Minister and the President. The Prime Minister is a line of communication between the Cabinet and the President. So before this, you need to know about the categories of or we can say the types of ministers. So types of ministers, or council of ministers. So council of ministers, there are three types. First is the cabinet minister. Second, we have minister of state. And the last one is deputy ministers. So we have three types of ministers: cabinet ministers, then ministers of state, and the third one is deputy ministers, right? So now, who are cabinet ministers? So the cabinet ministers are those ministers who are having important portfolios, important rank, important position, like agriculture minister, or your communication, transportation minister, or coal minister. So that's in the central government, right? So they are cabinet, they are the members of cabinet ministers, right? And this cabinet ministers are or the head of the cabinet ministers, that is the PM, that means prime minister. PM, prime minister, is the head of the cabinet minister. So prime minister is the part of cabinet ministers, and time to time they conduct like meeting is held. So cabinet ministers and prime ministers, they discuss about the national issues or public welfare issues, matters regarding public grievances, and public welfare matters regarding public welfare, right? So that's the cabinet ministers, right? Now second is ministers of states. So from this we come to know minister of state means individual minister in charge in individual state, right? So CM, chief minister, like chief minister of Uttarakhand, or chief minister of Maharashtra, or chief minister of Telangana, etc. And chief minister, chief minister of individual state, like coal minister of Uttarakhand, coal minister of Uttar Pradesh. So they are the part of ministers of state, second category of minister, right? Okay, now next is deputy ministers. So deputy ministers means they are the they are lower to cabinet and minister of states, lower in rank, and they are not supposed to attend any cabinet meetings held, right, unless they are invited. Clear? So this also allows in this minister of state, that ministers of states or ministers of state also cannot attend the cabinet meetings, uh, cannot attend cabinet meetings unless they are invited, right? So cabinet meetings which time to time held, that is held in presence of cabinet ministers, top ministers, with its head prime minister, right? So minister of states and deputy ministers, unless they are invited, they cannot they are not supposed to attend the cabinet meetings. And deputy ministers, they are lower in rank, and they have to, their work is to assist the other ministers. Clear? Okay, now here we were talking about the relationship between the president and the prime minister. So prime minister is a link, is a bridge between the council of ministers and the president. So all these three categories of ministers together called as council of ministers, right? So whenever we say council of ministers, so council of ministers, that include what? cabinet ministers with PM, Minister of State, and the third one is deputy ministers. So they are Council of Ministers, right? So Prime Minister, PM. PM is what? PM is the link between Council of Ministers and the President, right? And the President. Okay. So the Prime Minister conveys Cabinet's decision to the President and keeps him informed of national or foreign matters of the government. So as I told you, Prime Minister is what? Prime Minister is the link, is the bridge between Council of Ministers and the President. So whatever the decision is taken in this cabinet meetings, that is to be conveyed to the President, right? And Prime Minister keeps keeps informing or keeps informed of all national and foreign issues or matters of the government, right? Okay, secondly, the Prime Minister advises the President to summon and prorogue the Parliament and dissolve the Lok Sabha. So the Prime Minister advises. So I told you earlier also that the President cannot take decision alone. Whatever he has to take, whatever he has to declare, that is with the approval of the Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. Council of Ministers means these ministers, right? Okay. So in case of summon and prorogue means to call for the session or to dismiss the session of the Parliament and dissolve the Lok Sabha. The President has to take advice from the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister advises the President in appointing and removing the high officials also. So in case of appointing or in case of removing of any of the high officials in the government, that for that also the President needs the advice of the Prime Minister, right? Okay, now next we have the Prime Minister and his relationship with the Council of Ministers. Now let's talk about the relationship of the PM with the Council of Ministers, Prime Minister with the Council of Ministers. So Council of Ministers is headed by PM. As I told you, PM means Prime Minister. The head is the Prime Minister. There are three categories of ministers in it. As I told you, the top ranking who are holding important portfolios or important rank. So they are the cabinet ministers, and time to time the cabinet meetings held. So that's the cabinet ministers. And then second category, that is Minister of State, and the third one is deputy ministers, as I already told you about these ministers. So they are the Council of Ministers, right? Okay. Now Prime Minister and his relationship with the Cabinet and the Council of Ministers. In relation to the Cabinet or the Council of Ministers, the Prime Minister has the following powers. He forms the Council of Ministers and determines its size. Size means how many members to be there in the Council of Ministers. That is decided by the Prime Minister. And their portfolios also means to what rank to be given to that particular minister. That is also decided by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister's decision is final in such matters, right? The Prime Minister can remove a minister from the Cabinet or the Council of Ministers by asking him or her to resign. He can reallocate portfolios. So the Prime Minister has the right to dismiss or to remove or to get in the position of get in the position, and it's written here, the Prime Minister can remove a minister from the Cabinet or the Council of Ministers, from the Cabinet or the Council of Ministers, as well as minister by asking him to resign, and he can reallocate portfolios. He can reallocate. He can give again. He can give what the ranks or the position. The Prime Minister calls the meetings of the Council of Ministers, presides over them, and decides the agenda. So, agenda means an important burning topic or national importance, the matters of national importance. So, the Prime Minister calls for the meeting, that means a cabinet meeting, right? And which is presided by him only, the Prime Minister, and decides the agenda. That means decides the or uh, agenda means like the list to be updated or list to be prepared for the um, meetings, right? So that agenda is also decided by the Prime Minister. Okay, let's talk about the next one. That is the Prime Minister coordinates the policies and the working of the different departments of the government to ensure that all departments work according to the set of policies, to the set policies and decisions of the cabinet. So the Prime Minister coordinates means I told you he is the link between the Council of Ministers and the President, as well as his he coordinates the policies, because in cabinet meetings they take decision, they discuss the matters, they take decision, and they make policies, foreign policies as well as home policies, right? So he coordinates, the Prime Minister coordinates the policies and the working of the different departments of the government to ensure that all departments work accordingly to the set policies and decisions of the cabinet. Now, Prime Minister and his relationship with the Parliament. So, what is his position in the Parliament and what relationship he has with the Parliament? The Prime Minister is the leader of the Lok Sabha. The Prime Minister is the chief spokesman of the government in the Parliament. That means he is the chief spokesman, means he is the speaker. He speaks from his party, right? So the Prime Minister makes all important announcements of the government policies on the floor of the House. So he announces important on the important matters, on the burning topics, for what the government or is doing, and what is the further planning, right? So that is all announcement is done on the floor of the House, that means the Parliament. Prime Minister and his role in foreign affairs. So there is Minister of Foreign Affairs, yet the Prime Minister has a significant role in these matters as noted below. Yet there is a Foreign Minister to deal with the foreign affairs and foreign matters, but Prime Minister plays an important key role. The Prime Minister represents India in international conferences. He goes to the UNO, that means United Nations Organization, the Commonwealth, the SAARC, and the non-aligned nations meetings, and puts forward India's point of views before the world leaders. He may visit any country to improve India's relationship or to solve outstanding issues or the issues, to solve the outstanding issues, right? And he is the chief architect of India's foreign policy. That means he is the chief architect, means architects means who makes the plan, right? So he plan out the India's policies and India's foreign policy. Usually, the foreign minister accompanies the prime minister in all the parleys or conferences. Prime Minister as a leader of the nation. The Prime Minister is the acknowledged leader of the nation as a whole. The whole nation looks up to him for leadership. Actually, at the time of general elections, it is for or against the prime minister candidate that the entire electorate is the country votes, though he or she is contesting from a particular constituency. Constituency means a particular well defined area, right? Though the prime minister, the person who is contesting for the election of prime minister, he is um, that the entire electorate in the country votes, though he or she is contesting from a particular, from particular means from one constituency, one well defined area. Thus we can say that in practical sense, the election of the prime minister is the direct choice of the voters. In other words, if the people want to choose a particular candidate as their prime minister, they vote for the candidate of the prime minister's party in their constituency. So, if we want that, let's suppose a person belongs to BJP party, or the person belongs to Congress party. If we want that BJP should win, so what we do in our constituency, we vote to BJP. Or if we want that Congress to be the upcoming ruling government, so what we do, we will vote to the Congress candidate in center. That person can become the next prime minister. So we'll vote to that party only from our constituency, right? So in another word, we can say this this is a direct choice of we people, or it's a like the election of prime minister is the direct choice of the voters. That means UAF, we people, right? Okay. So here we have completed the chapter, and just revise the chapter once again. Once again, just go through the chapter, just read out the chapter, and to better understand, and just do all the exercises given in this book, right? So that's all for the day. Soon we'll meet in the next video.